So Andrew wants to know, Wolters World, where can I cheap out on my travels to save some money? Here's the thing, you can pretty much cheap out on pretty much any part of your travels to save some money when you go around the world, okay? And if we look at transportation, how can you cheap out there? Well, one, instead of taxis and renting cars, do public transportation. Whether it's the buses, the subways, the trains, use those to get around to save yourself some pretty big money. Because I know for me, public transportation is the way I get around cities all around the world, and instead of spending 50 bucks on a taxi, I'm spending $3 on a subway, okay? So something to kind of think about there, where you can cheap out. Public transportation. If you're looking at flying, you can cheap out by going for low-cost airlines. Now, doing that has its own problems because sometimes the cheapest price ticket is not the cheapest overall travel price to get to a destination. I know that sounds a little complicated, but you have to factor in, you got to pay for your luggage when it arrives. Is there a way you can get from the airport when it comes in into the city? Those things can be there, but you can cheap out on some of those things. And if you're just doing a carry-on, you can do any airline and you should be fine. And that can be a way to save some money, okay? Another thing you can cheap out on, it comes to your food. Now, when you travel around, having the food in the countries you go to, for me, is one of the best parts of doing it. And you want to have the local food. But the thing is, having the local food every single meal at a restaurant, that boom, 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 hikes up your budget. Some cheap things you can do to kind of cheap out on that is, one, you can go to local kiosks, like just get a sausage roll at one of the pasty shops, right? And yeah, you're spending £2 and you just save yourself a bunch of money instead of spending £20 at a restaurant. So you can do that. Or you can go to an Aldi or a Lidl or a grocery store and just buy food and eat on your own. That can save you a lot of money as well. And it's not like you have to eat Aldi every single meal, but you can have, look, we're gonna do lunch out of the restaurants, but breakfast and dinner, we're doing grocery store stuff. And that cheap out can save you a lot of money. And if you're gonna be staying at an Airbnb or an apartment rental or a hotel that has a little kitchenette, you can save big time cash that way, especially if you've got a family or you're traveling with a bunch of friends. Now, in terms of cheaping out on the sites, one thing you can think about is not trying to go into all the sites, but being very judicious with the sites you actually want to go into. So behind me, we have Clifford's Tower. Now, I saw Clifford's Tower from outside. It's very cool. I can go up there and I can pay to go in to walk around. Do I really need to pay to go up in there? No. Do you need to pay up to go to the Eiffel Tower? No, because when you want to see Paris, you want to see the Eiffel Tower. When you're in the Eiffel Tower, looking at it on Paris, you don't see the Eiffel Tower. So some things you kind of skip out on and you choose which places to go. Also, when you're looking at museums, some museums have maybe a free day of the week or a free day of the month or an afternoon that's a lower price. You can use those things to kind of cheap out on if you schedule accordingly. Also, if you're looking at tours, yes, there's free walking tours you can do, which usually just tip at the end a few bucks, you know, you can do that if you're looking to kind of cut costs when you're there. And then if we look at accommodation, the big thing here is realize to yourself that only thing you need from your accommodation is a place to sleep. Once you think of that, it's a lot easier to stay at a cheaper and cheaper place. So you can stay at a hostel and share in a bedroom with 6 people and have a locker for your stuff, so you can cheap out that way. Or you go to a hotel, instead of the $200 or $300 a night fancy hotel, you go to the local bed and breakfast that's 60 euros or 60 pounds instead, and you can save money that way. Is it as comfortable? Is it as nice? No, but what do I need? I'm here visiting York. I'm exploring all day long, and I literally get home at 10 o'clock at night, go to sleep, wake up at 6 a.m., and I'm back out again. Who cares if there's no TV? Who cares if there's no breakfast involved? Who cares if these things are there? That's something you can kind of think about when you're looking at your accommodation. Now, another thing where your accommodation could save you a little bit of money you can kind of cheap out on is some hotels have free breakfast. I know it kind of goes against with your accommodation thing I just said, but sometimes you have a hotel that has breakfast for free there. That can save you a meal. So you have a huge breakfast in the morning, maybe you just have a late lunch or an early dinner as your other meal, and you only go 2, so you could cheap out that way, okay? So these are just a few kind of cheap out things I kind of thought of to help you, Andrew, be able to travel more and see more on a bit of a smaller budget when you travel. What are some of your easy cost cutting that you do when you travel so your money goes a little bit farther when you travel? Let us know in the comments below so we can help other travelers save a buck or two when they travel. Bye from here in York.